Welcome, welcome. Let's get everybody in here. There's my friend Shanna. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, Katya. Hi,
Hi,
Amanda.
Dawn. Hi, how you going?
Doing well. Glad to be back.
How was your vacation?
It was delightful and delicious, and I'm so glad that I went, and I'm also so glad I got to come home. Because, on vacation, it's like, so what do we do? Here, I know what to do. So here I am. Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
Hi. So tell me what chapter we're on today, ladies.
7. We're doing 7 again.
Very nice. 7 is a reliable one to do since 30% of your test questions are going to come from 7.
I have a really interesting business analysis story for you
Tell me.
about
I love
what
those.
happened in real life.
Yes,
So
tell
I'm,
me.
I'm doing a contract. I'm on a 6-month contract at the moment with a large media company here in Sydney. And one of my tasks when I started was to define requirements for this initiative that we're doing. It's called sales incentive tracking. I don't know, whatever. And as part of that process, my manager, who is the product manager, gave me the recordings of 2 workshops that happened before I started. So I'm effectively doing document analysis, right?
Right.
So did that. I've read through the workshops, listened to them. Luckily, they had a transcript, so I just downloaded it and uploaded it into Gemini, spat out, like a high level sort of, these are the main pain points. This is what I understand is the current state. This is what I understand is the ideal future state. This is what I kind of gather is, the pillars, the central themes. And my manager's like, okay, go and write detailed requirements. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? She's like, we need to have it built. Like, go and write detailed requirements. I'm like, but we haven't validated. I haven't validated. These are unconfirmed, unvalidated workshop outputs. You can't sit down and write detailed requirements because we could just be barking up the wrong tree. And I had a real fight with her about this. So anyway, it's a long story. There's a whole lot more to it, but it just got me thinking. This is an essential, critical part of the whole requirements gathering process. You got to play it back. You got to go,
yes.
Is it my understanding that this, and this? And I just explained to her because I wasn't in the workshops. I wasn't able to ask questions. Like there's so much that I don't understand. And these people have been in the business for years and years and years, and they're talking about quotas and forecasts and KPIs. I'm like, but I don't understand what that actually means. I'm missing this baseline fund. So I thought it was a really interesting story to tell you. Got to validate it.
You do. You got to be sure not only that you understand what it is, but that they know that you care enough to understand, because that's a really good intro into creating the trust, creating the relationship, right?
Sure.
Yes, Bob.
Iteration, conversation, get everybody on board.
Yep.
That's why I draw my diagram that way.
Very
and
good.
they have to be willing to support your understanding and your learning in order for you to be able to serve them.
Yep. Clarity, purpose, alignment. Those are my 3 pillars. Clarity, purpose, alignment.
Right.
I like it.
Unless they're
as you approach the stakeholders,
have made up anything better.
As you approach those stakeholders, especially the first time, it's really important to be able to say your little elevator speech of who you are and what you're here for. But if you add at the end, my job here is to help you succeed with this project. So I want to know what's important to you. What are your goals? What are your pain points and concerns? And that way, if you are not in a meeting later, I can represent those things on your behalf and then bring those back to you. And it's oh yeah, they were much more likely to be open and transparent with you whenever they're giving you information if they know you're on their side already.
Mhm.
That's my Myers-Briggs is the advocate. The advocate. I will
Yes,
advocate for them.
that's what we do, isn't it? Okay, let's jump into this. Let me open my handy dandy on this side, and we're on chapter 7. Okay. Okay. Which of the following requirements does not meet the characteristics of a quality requirement? So remember, characteristics of a quality requirement is not the same as SMART requirements, right? It's kind of got it, but not really. Okay, the system shall read the tracking database and feed the bond prices into the web database using XML. The system shall provide the maintenance function for correcting any missing data. The system shall display bond prices using 3 decimal places instead of fractions. Bond prices will be viewable and sortable by maturity date, length of security, yield, and rating. Let me give you a 5 count. We're going to come back and eliminate 1. Okay, which one should we eliminate?
B.
B?
Oh, sorry, which one does not meet the characteristics? I beg your pardon.
I think it's A.
Okay.
Yeah.
So A is the answer. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
These 3 do meet it. This one does not. Can you tell me what's wrong with it?
Well, when I look at the other 3, the B, C, and D, those are giving like actual, I'll say like maybe quality measures for, making up the requirement, where the first one, it's just, this is what it needs to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's like my logic, my thought process. I looked for keywords that to me meant quality.
Okay.
This is
Anybody else?
functionality. I think it's like more functional rather than quality. Like track database, feed bond prices.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look at this. It's telling which technology to use.
Yeah.
Because it names the technologies and constraints of the design solution. Now, in the real world, if that is part of what they say in the meeting and you take note of it and it was a decision they made during that meeting, it makes sense to identify something like that. But the BABOK is very, very specific on not identifying the technology and constraining it to a specific solution technology. Like we're not going to say XML, SQL, whatever. We're not going to identify that. That's not our job to do that for the requirements. That's the developer's job to take our requirement and craft it using the best tool, according to the BABOK.
Okay.
What is the purpose of estimation in determining the potential value for each design option? So this is potential value in relation to estimation and the design option. To be able to provide some figures to the executives, to create and estimate the measurements used in defining value, to forecast the cost and efforts of meeting the requirements, and to forecast and estimate each stakeholder's value in the project. What do you think we should eliminate?
The D
D.
and
As in
A.
dog.
Yeah, and we eliminate A.
Okay, so that leaves us B and C. What do we think is the right answer?
B as in
I
boy.
think it's B.
Yeah, because we don't
Yeah.
forecast.
Yep.
Okay. So
They do forecast.
this
We do
describes the
forecast.
metrics and key performance indicators technique. That's the way that we estimate the measurements used in defining value. But to forecast the cost and efforts in meeting the requirements is the purposes in determining the potential value of each design option. And if you got that wrong,
Yeah.
look at 766 and
Mhm.
10.19. Okay, moving on. While analyzing elicitation results and creating representations of those results, which set of activities will a business analyst typically be engaged in? So we're analyzing elicitation results and creating representation of those results. What task is that, folks?
Specifying model requirement.
It is specifying model requirements. So will we be involved in these things? Let's see, modeling requirements isn't all of them. We won't talk about that. This one is analyzing requirements, and this one doesn't have it. Do we need analyzing requirements?
Yes.
Yes.
So we're going to eliminate that one. Representing the requirements and attributes is in this one and this one. Do we need it or not?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to eliminate those two. Implementing the appropriate levels of abstraction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do need that one. Okay, so currently we have modeling requirements, analyzing requirements, representing requirements and attributes, implementing the appropriate levels of abstraction as our choice. Let's check the last one just to be sure. Modeling requirements, analyzing requirements, representing requirements and attributes. This one has analyzing potential value. We don't need that one. Okay. So you've made the best choice here. Business analysts transform elicitation results and requirements and designs by engaging in these activities, which are elements of the specified model requirements task. So this is our list of elements. Which set of activities will we engage in? The elements to achieve the task.
Yeah.
Good logic, ladies and gentlemen. Which is the purpose of the information management approach in defining requirements architecture? So defining requirements architecture is our task. 7.4. The purpose of the information management approach in this one defines how the business analysis information will be stored and accessed. It defines the level of detail in which the information should be captured. It defines the relationships between requirements, designs, and solution components to trace business rules to requirements that they support. Let me give you a 10 count and we'll come back and eliminate. Okay, what should we eliminate?
D.
Okay.
I think we eliminate the C also.
So this is traceability.
Yeah.
No, this is business rules, right? That might not be traceability. This one is defines the relationship between requirements and design. That is traceability. So if we're eliminating those two,
Yeah.
which one of these is the right answer?
Doesn't define the level of detail.
I think it's A.
It's
I think
yeah,
it's A.
it is A.
Okay. You're
Yeah.
correct. And this one is not the correct answer because this is only one aspect of it. This is a better answer.
Just for kicks and giggles, click C. It's kind of a trick question. So it's actually asking about the information management approach and not defining requirements architecture,
Right.
which is C. So A is right.
Yeah.
This one is traceability, right?
Mm-hmm.
That C is actually requirements architecture.
It is a requirement architecture.
It's
Yeah.
also traceability the way I think of it, but the way the Babok things have been. So I think of traceability as going horizontally across phases, and the way I draw it, the Babok says it's the hierarchy and relationships of all the design and other elements to each other, and I draw that vertically.
Okay. Which list describes a complete set of tasks in the requirements analysis and design definition area. So specifying model requirements is in all of them. Verify requirements is in all of them. Validate requirements. Validate,
Yeah.
validate, and validate. Define requirements architecture. This one doesn't have define requirements architecture. Do we need it?
No.
Yeah.
No or yes?
Yeah.
Okay, so is define requirements architecture a task?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so this one we can eliminate because it doesn't have
Yeah.
it.
Exactly.
Okay,
You can
so
eliminate this one also.
define design options, and this one doesn't have define design options. Do we need it?
No.
No.
Okay. Okay. And then analyze potential value and recommend solution.
Is A, we need the defined requirements architecture. We need.
Okay, so we feel like A is the right answer?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. This is a complete list of tasks.
Yeah.
Incidentally, you will not see this on the test. This is here just so that you get the concepts in your mind. On the real test, they're going to be doing scenarios and what's the next thing you do, but you need the concepts. You need to know what these tasks are, what order they're in, the inputs and outputs so that you can see it all move together. Which knowledge area develops models in the current state of the organization? I'm going to just let y'all tell me the answer to this one.
Strategy.
Strategy
No?
analysis.
Strategy analysis.
Yeah. No?
That's not right. Well, yeah.
We are in red.
Because
Strategy
we're in
analysis now.
yeah, because we're in chapter 7.
Modeling. Oh,
This is chapter 7. This is chapter 6. Solution evaluation is chapter 8.
But how? It's
This
models
is a
of the current
task.
state of an organization. Isn't it under also where, no, this is defined current, nothing. Yeah.
Okay, requirements analysis and design definition is chapter 7, which is where we are right now. Which of the following subset best describes the characteristics of requirements and design quality? Let's see. Atomic is in these two. That's one of them, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Testable is in both. Consistent is in both. Feasible is in this one.
Yeah.
Defined, is that one?
It's feasible.
Testable, consistent, defined. No.
It is feasible.
Do we like this one best?
Yeah.
Yes, and David.
Okay, I gotta get a drink, guys. I've discovered I can't talk for like 2 hours straight without drinking something. Wendy is assessing the merits of a solution approaches for each design option. Which of the following is not one of the solution approaches? Solution components creation, combination of both creation and purchase, solution components purchase, or solution components developed. So 3 of these are, 1 of these is not. Let me give you a 5 count. Which one is not?
D, as in David.
Yeah.
Very good. The lead business analyst and project team have come up with 3 design options that would potentially achieve the desired future state. She needs an expert to provide input into the constraints and cost implications of each option. Who would be the best person to provide guidance? So, an expert to provide input about the constraints and cost implications of each item. So, would that be a supplier, operational support, implementation SME, or domain SME? Remember where she is in the project.
Cost, isn't it? Either operational.
I think it's B.
Yeah,
B. Oh,
operational.
no.
C. The implementation.
C.
The person
I agree
who's
with
actually
C.
doing the configuring. Operational support will be more like ongoing support, but I don't know. Maybe they also can provide input. Cost implications.
So I'm going to back y'all up. Let's go back up here. The lead
It is
VA and project team have come up with 3 design options that would potentially achieve the desired state. So think about where they are in the project. They've got 3 possible options
yeah.
that they have not implemented yet.
Yep.
Who is the best person to tell them about the different design options?
The implementation, I think.
I agree.
Okay.
I disagree.
What do you
But
think
Why
it
do you
is, Bob?
disagree?
should be the domain subject matter expert. So the implementation guy would build it, but the
Yep.
domain guy knows how it's used and what it produces. That should be the correct answer. I disagree with this.
Okay,
But
check
maybe
out.
the BABOK said something different. That's fine. Ignore me, read the BABOK. I
Yeah,
just
usually you
think
have the
BABOK's wrong.
We're going to be looking in the guidelines and tools of defined design options, and in that it has existing solutions, future state description, requirements that are traced, and solution scope. So check this out if you have any heartburn over it, and let's talk about it again next week. Lincoln, did you have any?
Yeah, I was just going to comment that usually implementation subject matter experts are the service provider, product. So think about Oracle, Microsoft. In these cases, they would actually be the implementation SMEs, right? Because we're trying to decide what solution to onboard. They're the expert, the implementer to assist us with the configuration and the setup. So therefore, they also can help us identify the costs associated with the cost of investment, if you will, in addition to identifying constraints in order to carry out the different design solutions, basically. So typically in the context, you want to look at it from the perspective of a supplier or vendor, but because there's also a resource you're going to lean on for implementation, this is why I think it's termed as implementation subject matter expert.
And remember,
If you read section 757, the domain SME seems totally plausible. I love what Lincoln said, and maybe this is a question of disagreeing with Watermark more than the BABA.
possible. Watermark is not flawless. They're just pretty darn good. Still flawed a little. Which techniques are used to validate requirements? So here's our task. Acceptance and evaluation criteria is in 3 of these. Is that one of them?
Yes.
Okay. Let's look at this one then. Metrics and key performance indicators, financial analysis, and business capability analysis. Is that used to validate requirements?
Oh,
Okay, so we can eliminate that one.
yeah.
This one has metrics and key performance indicators. Is that one of them?
You need to have KPIs. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
You have the
How about
workshop.
workshops?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just be sure these are not the right answer. Acceptance and evaluation criteria, item tracking, and reviews.
So I think it's C only because I vaguely remember it being in the BABOK. But
Okay, so I've got one possible for this one and more for that one. How about financial analysis and workshops?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Validate.
There is no
See.
workshops. There is reviews and not workshops. Sorry, it is C.
Okay.
Reviews. Yes.
Yeah, you have reviews, you don't have workshop.
Okay, let's just see. You are correct. Very good. That process of elimination thing, it's cumbersome, but after you do it about, oh, I don't know, 50, 60 times, it's a lot easier. The project team is in the process of confirming compliance with organizational business analysis performance standards, correct use of modeling notation, and completeness within each model. And the items determined to be important are included in the final requirements deliverables. What tool would help carrying out these activities? Is this a control chart, a checklist, metrics and key performance indicators, or item tracking? Tell me which one is not the right answer.
Control
I
chart.
think the C is not there. Control chart,
I think
definitely.
A, not.
Yeah, definitely a control chart is not.
Okay, so I've got checklist and item tracking left.
I think it's a checklist.
I think checklist is the right answer.
You guys are rocking tonight. The purpose of a checklist in the verify requirements task is to ensure that the items determined to be important are included in the final requirements deliverables. Okay. What are all the inputs into the defined requirements architecture task? So we know what task it is, and we've got a finite number of inputs. So let's see, we've got information management approach or system. Which one is it?
Approach.
From an
Okay.
approach.
So we can eliminate this one and we can eliminate this one. Is it requirements traced or requirements any state?
Any state.
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 Okay,
That's
so we can
A.
eliminate all of these. So we have information management approach, requirements any state, and solution scope. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's not traced.
Very
Yep.
good. How is a glossary different than a data dictionary? They both define key terms relevant to the solution. That shows how they're the same, not different, right?
Mm-hmm.
A
Yes.
glossary defines all terms used within an initiative, while a data dictionary defines only terms relevant to data modeling. They are the same and can be used interchangeably depending upon the organization's culture. A glossary defines key terms relevant to the business domain, while a data dictionary standardizes a definition of a data element. Let me give you a 5 count. We'll come back and eliminate. Okay, which one should we eliminate first?
A and C.
A and C.
A and C make me want to throw something.
Yeah,
So what do you think is the right answer?
I think D.
I think it is. I think it's B. I think.
I think
D
it's
is in
D.
dog?
That was D.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's D.
No, can you click on B, please? I
I
thought it's.
will.
Yeah, please.
A glossary defines only terms relevant to the business, not
Okay.
within an initiative.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
So in the real world, you might just use a glossary for an initiative, but it's really applicable to the business itself.
Mhm.
What are the inputs for the verify requirement task? Is it requirements in transition, validated, signed off, or specified and modeled? Which one is the wrong answer?
A
Signed off.
and C.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Okay. So between B and D, which one do you like?
D.
I think
D.
it's D.
Yeah.
That is correct. Verify requirements task input is requirements that have been specified and modeled. This is the thing that says you can't verify something that hasn't been documented in some way to have somebody look at it. you know, on the screen, on a piece of paper, something. This model represents a sequence of actions, events, or a course that may be taken. Which requirement model category is represented by the above statement? Is this the model category called people and roles, entity relationship, rationale, or activity flow? Which one is the wrong answer?
People and roles.
Which one is the right answer?
D.
D.
Yeah.
It seems like we have a lot of D's tonight, doesn't it? The instructional designer in me is going, no, don't do that. Make it more random. In order to validate requirements, you must first do what? First do what would mean that this is going to probably be the first element in the task, right? Are you going to verify requirements, define design options, specify model requirements, or confirm requirements? Well, this isn't an element. This is what you have to do before you can validate requirements. So before you can validate requirements, what task do you do?
Verify.
Verify.
I was going to say confirm. I don't know now.
I got
Verify.
one
Maybe
vote for
confirm
verify.
comes before.
I
Maybe
know
confirm comes
Talking
before.
about a task, right?
well,
Not an
it's
element.
it's talking about a task, but I think what's
Yeah, so it should
confusing
be
is the fact that
C.
she keeps pointing to the first one. Obviously, the first thing you do is specify. However, you then have to kind of think of if it's supposed to be sequential, where you specify before you validate, and then before you verify and then you validate. So it's kind of like,
Exactly.
is it specify you answer, or do you do the one that is before validate, which is verify? So I don't know.
I don't know either.
My answer is A or C.
A or C. So remember,
Validate.
verify and validate that even though they are in a certain order on the book, they don't have to be performed in that same order.
Okay, then the answer is C then.
C.
C.
So you have to specify model requirements, and then you can take those requirements and verify them or validate them. They need to have both done to them, but they don't have to be done in either order.
So it's just not sequential. So even if
Not
it's
sequential.
put that way, okay.
No, but it's written you can do it together, but you can never finish validating before verifying all requirements.
You may be right. I still have vacation brain. I don't remember that, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Non-functional requirements analysis is a stated technique for which of the following tasks in the requirements analysis design definition knowledge area. So this is part of it. It's a technique in only one of the tasks. Is this specify model requirements, verify requirements, prioritize requirements, or define design options? Which one do you think it belongs to?
Can I
A.
guess?
A. I think it's A.
A.
You're correct. In specify model requirements, we talk about the types of requirements. What state or status should the requirements be in to serve as an input into define requirements architecture task? So in define requirements architecture task, there's an input that is requirements, but they're in a state or status. Is it that they are verified, approved? They can be in any state or status, or they're confirmed. Which one do you think is the wrong answer?
D.
D is wrong.
B is wrong. Okay. And what is the right answer?
Isn't it C?
So it's going to be requirements, open bracket, any status, close bracket. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Isn't it C?
You're right. I just wanted to be sure that they had the picture.
Yeah.
I want you to have the picture in your mind, so I had to paint the picture.
And we had that question before.
Good. The senior business analyst requested that all requirements be self-contained and capable of being understood independently of all of other requirements or designs. What characteristics of requirements and designs is the senior business analyst requesting? Is this thing right here the definition of unambiguous, consistent, complete, or atomic? Which one do you think is the right answer?
D is in
I think
Delta.
it's D.
Yeah, atomic.
This is atomic. Very good. What characteristics of a quality requirement is missing in this requirement? Here's the requirement. The call center operator shall be able to view details of a protected household. Is this the thing that's missing? Is it complete, understandable, concise, or consistent? Which one do you think is the wrong answer?
It is not consistent, is wrong
Okay,
because you need another requirement.
right. So what is the correct answer?
I think it's complete.
Complete.
It's not concise.
Say it again.
I think it's A, complete. It should be complete.
This one?
I think I'm not sure.
Okay.
I
I'm
think it's
having
C.
trouble hearing you. That's why I'm asking.
I
B,
think
understandable.
Bravo.
it's not. I think it's because it's not complete. You cannot understand it. It's not complete.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it's C as in
I think
Charlie.
it's C as in Charlie as well.
Okay, let's try it.
Ah,
It's not complete.
get there.
This is incomplete because it lacks a qualifier. It doesn't say how fast they should be able to see it.
Right.
Concise means that the requirement contains no unnecessary content, which this requirement doesn't. If anything, this requirement lacks content. So this means that it has extra stuff in it. This means it's got enough stuff in it.
Concise. It means
This
you
one
need
is
it
too
to be.
much.
You need
concise means like Katya is gonna say,
the point.
brief and to the point.
To the
Right.
point. That's
Gotcha.
concise.
Minimal wording.
Contains no unnecessary content,
Yeah.
but it doesn't contain enough content.
It should be complete and
That
concise.
question is a little unfair because it requires you to make up stuff that's not really in the question. So it's good for making you think about that. You wouldn't have a question that open-ended on the actual exam, I don't think.
Right.
But
So
you're thinking
it says
about it correctly.
this question is asking what is missing. Concise is it's not missing concise. It's actually very concise. It's not
It's
concise.
It's
It's not
too
complete.
concise.
I didn't think
Gotcha.
of
Okay.
Gotcha. That
That
makes
makes sense.
As a business analyst, you're given the following elicitation information. The database shall support generation and control of configuration objects, and the objects are themselves groupings of other objects in the database. Why would decomposing the above information be critical to you? Information decomposition would prove that the business analyst is well experienced, and this would give stakeholders confidence. It could be true. Information decomposition would help identify anything that must change or not change to meet the business need or any missing components. Information decomposition should be avoided as it takes more time and may lead to project delays. Information decomposition does away with all the assumptions as it is done on an actual project. So I'm going to give you a 10 count on this one. We're going to come back and eliminate one. Okay, what can we eliminate?
B and C.
Yes, C is in Charlie.
Yeah, sorry, A and C.
A can be
Yeah.
eliminated.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think the
A
answer is
and
B.
C.
Yeah, I think the
because
answer is B.
The
yeah,
answer is
that's
B.
yeah,
You guys are rocking this. So this is not the correct answer because it doesn't answer the question. This is not the correct answer because it's just not true. Well, we don't know if it's true, but that still doesn't answer the question, right? Very good. You have been asked to facilitate a session to model requirements. What technique are you least likely to use? So in modeling requirements, we know we're in specify and model requirements.
yeah,
And the techniques we're least likely to use, would we use prototyping, data modeling, and interface analysis, document analysis, benchmarking, and market analysis, use cases, sequence diagrams, state diagrams, organizational modeling, process modeling, and data dictionary and glossary. So we're facilitating a session.
yeah,
So let's start at the top. Are we going to use this one probably or
yes,
not?
yes,
Yes.
How about this one?
no,
Mm-mm.
Okay,
no,
let's double check the rest. Would we use this one?
yes,
And would we use this one?
Least likely.
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
Okay. So do we agree that B is the correct answer?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
None of these techniques are listed in the technique as techniques that support specified model requirements. Very good. The lead business analyst and her team have completed an event that ensured the requirements and design specifications and models meet quality standards. They now want to ensure that the stakeholders' desired future state will be achieved. What question would the team be asking? To ensure the stakeholders' desired future state would be achieved, would they be asking, was the right solution built? Were the right stakeholders involved? Were the right requirements stated? Or were the requirements stated right? Let me give you a 10 count. We'll come back. Okay, what do we think about A?
no,
No.
How about B?
no,
No.
How about C?
That's a
no,
question mark. I'm not
no,
sure. I think it's D.
yeah, that's D.
Okay, so this is challenging and you're not going to see something this wonky on the test. Were the right requirements stated or versus the requirements stated right? This question is answered in validation because validation ensures the stakeholder's desired future state is achieved, which is what the team wants to do. This question is answered by verification, and the question states that they have completed verification, which is the quality standards. I told you you're not going to see something like this on the test, but you do need to understand this concept. Okay? Okay. Geisen is analyzing and refining the elicitation results into requirements. He wants to use a technique that will help his stakeholders, who are customers, describe the goal they want to accomplish when using the solution. What technique would Geisen use? Is describing the goal they want to accomplish when using a solution? Is that organizational modeling, user stories, use cases and scenarios, or scope modeling? Which one is it not? What can we eliminate?
Organizational modeling.
Okay. And what do we think is the right answer?
I think it's D. Maybe scope model.
I've got one vote for D.
I think
I
it's
was
use
thinking it's
I
B.
think it's B.
not user story. User stories are for Jiras, like something. I
Use
would go
case.
for
It's C.
I would go for use cases. I think so.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
So,
Interesting.
Because it says describe, right? What
Mm-hmm.
they're trying to
Mm-hmm.
accomplish.
so it's a brief story that helps the user say, as a
Um,
role, I want to accomplish this thing because of this.
Mm-hmm.
And Babok, for some reason, thinks that the user writes use cases. I've never seen it in my life, and most of them would have no ability to do what we have to do. But the Babok says that to describe the goal in a brief story, it would be a user story, and the users write user stories. So
I've
this
never
is one of those memorization things that's what the Babok says. We know that we write the user stories.
Mm.
Did you have something, Katya?
Yeah, but stakeholders doesn't. Okay, but why use cases? It's saying stakeholders that do not write use cases, and the question, the BA he
Give
wants
an
to use a technique.
explanation.
Like he
He
wants
wants
to use the technique to help a stakeholder. So how come it's saying stakeholder do not write use cases? And
because this is inferring that the stakeholders are the ones that are creating the user stories up here. He wants them to describe the goal that they want to accomplish.
Yeah.
And because they are writing them up here, we know that we are the ones who write use cases and scenarios in the Babok. We
the
really
business,
wrote them both.
What
the business,
use
sorry,
case is, as a rule, I want to take an action so I can accomplish some result. So that's what they're keying on. Now, use cases are very similar, so I know where you're getting at, and that description they gave you as to why that's wrong is goofy. But I think they won't be this confusing on the actual exam.
True. It's true.
But whenever they're the obvious association, if you think about a user's story is, so I can accomplish some result. That's the key.
Okay. So do we understand why it says that this one is the right answer and this one is the wrong answer?
till now I didn't understand, but okay.
So in the question, it is inferring that the stakeholders are actually sitting down and describing the goal. They're the ones writing it. And that's why the use cases scenario can be eliminated, because we are the ones who write use cases, or the developer or the architects write use cases. The
Okay,
users don't write use cases.
okay. Now I understand the question. Thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome. Which of the following best describes what is needed in order to specify model requirements? So what is needed has to be an input, right?
Yeah.
Is that the requirements, any elicitation results, a business analyst, or a modeling tool? Which
B.
one can we eliminate?
Business
B.
analyst.
I think B is the answer.
Yeah,
I think B is the answer.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Let's submit this exam.
Oh, did we submit it
Y'all got an
already?
88%. Look at y'all. Okay. So how confident are you feeling about chapter 7?
20%.
Pretty good? Okay, that's good. So are we ready to move to chapter
20% is not good.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought my closed captioning said 90% whenever you
Oh
said
no, I
20%.
didn't say that. Oh no, very far from 90.
Okay. Okay. Do you want to stay in chapter 7 another week? Here are the
Let's move
options.
on.
We go on
Let's
to
move on.
chapter 8 and do chapter 8 maybe 2 weeks, and then we add chapter 7 back into it.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
can we do
Sounds
that?
like a good plan.
Yeah.
okay. Okay, so let's
Think
move on to
this
chapter
set
8.
of questions for chapter 7 was way easier. And didn't bring up the things we were struggling with in the
Yeah,
previous weeks.
I
But
agree.
I think rather than do a fourth week of chapter 7, move on, then we can come back
Come
and
back.
do it in combination.
Okay.
So I want
Also, I asked the question in the
to
chat.
tell you, okay, you asked me a question in the chat. I think I answered you, Bob. And let me double check.
And
Okay. Yes, Bob, let me do just a few things first.
yeah,
I
please.
want to talk about chapter 8 before y'all get started on it. Chapter 8 is very, very, very similar to chapter 6. Chapter 8 is only situations that happen after you have at least a prototype built or some iteration of a solution. That's the only time anything in chapter 8 can happen. A solution has to be in place in part or whole. It can be a whole solution, like it's been running together for 20 years and now you need to do an evaluation. Or it can be, we got a prototype done and we're ready to just look at how does this fit? Is it meeting our needs? And the true thing is about chapter 8 is what you're trying to determine is it meeting the needs that it intended? So you got potential value in there, what it was intended originally, and how is it meeting the needs now? And so you have solution limitations and you have enterprise limitations. Enterprise limitations are things like the people don't know how to use that technology, or um, this isn't in the Babok, but here's a great example. Let's say at 20 years ago, whenever they put it in, everybody had these certain kinds of screens, and now those screens are all faded and they can't see them anymore. So you've got solution limitations that way. Or now the workforce has changed so that not everyone's first language is English, and so they are having challenges understanding the UI. That's an enterprise limitations. It's outside of the solution. So you're going to see those in chapter 8. So I want you to understand it's similar to chapter 6, and I don't want you to get confused between the two. We're going to work on chapter 8 for 2 weeks and get that under your belt. It's not as hard as chapter 7 in my opinion. And then we'll start going back and adding chapter 7, chapter 6, chapter 5, and we're just going to kind of be doing this massive review for you. In there, I'm going to also bring in what I call essay questions. You don't write an essay. It's just a huge block of information that has answers to multiple questions in it. And you have to go, question 1 is this paragraph, question 2 uses the first paragraph, question 3 uses the fourth paragraph. And so
Those
you have to
are case type questions.
Yes, yes. So you're going to see those on the test. I want to give you some exposure to that. At the end of July, I'm going to stop us and we're going to talk about how to fill out your application. You need to fill out your application approximately 1 month before you plan on taking it. So I think the end of July is a good time because you have now understood what each of the knowledge areas contained, because the application breaks up your experience by the knowledge areas. So you have a firm understanding of that now, and you can say, I spent 30% of my time eliciting information. I spent 10% of my time on information management, things like that. So yes, I see Amanda has her hand raised.
I've just someone was talking about annual leave just then, and I remembered I won't be here for the week of the 20th of September. What dates do we go to again? Can you remind me, please?
We pretty much go about up to that point. I planned on
amazing.
finishing at the end of September for anybody who hadn't taken their test yet. Some of y'all are going to take your test before that point.
Yep.
But so we're going to do our application at the end of July. That gives you the month of August to get the application processed through. If
Yep.
takes a while for your references to respond, or if they audit, I haven't heard anybody being audited for years, but just in case, I do have a worksheet for you that's going to make it a heck of a lot easier for you to fill out your application. You do need to have your resume available. And if you can, also have the names and address and phone number and email you don't need the address. Name, phone number, and email for your references. Have the website for companies that you've worked for. That's something that I don't put on my resume.
Right.
For your training, this course, if you've been here enough, this course all by itself will take care of your training because you have to have 35 instructor-led hours. However, if you have other training that you want to include, you also need to have the website, the instructor's name, how to contact them. If you don't have that, just put on your own phone number and stuff like that. The dates that you took the course, which knowledge areas were covered by the course. So it's not a bad idea to have more than just this training if you want to put it on there. I always like to tell people put a little more than you have to. That way, if they say that one doesn't qualify, you still don't have to go find something else. You already have enough. Yes, Lincoln,
Yes. How many references do we need for the
you need
application?
to. But
Just
your
two?
references need to be either a CBAP, which I'm a CBAP, and you've known me for 6 months. All
So
your
they can.
references you have to have known you for 6 months, or they can be a coworker, a client, a boss.
Okay.
But whoever it is, they need to be responsive to that email. So they need to be watching for it and reply to it like within a week.
Hmm.
Uh, a day would be better, but not everybody does that.
I use my
Busy
two
life.
company owners, and they were good enough to serve as references and were responsive. So, supervisors, I figured, was the best way to go.
Yep.
Okay. So, what's
Sometimes
the turnaround from the point you submit the application in full? What's the typical turnaround before,
They're
I
really
guess?
quick.
Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes they don't even send anything to your references. They just, yep, you're accepted. And then you do your scheduling, you pay the fee. So there's an application fee and you get through that and then you pay the fee for the test itself. And I think it's like 24 hours and then you can schedule your test.
Oh,
And the scheduling for the test is through a different company than IIBA. It's a proctoring group and they do all kinds of tests, anything that can be taken on a computer. Um, I've said it before. I'm going to say it one more time just so you hear me. I highly encourage you to go to a proctoring location to take your test. Taking it at home is a pain. Many of my students have had to sit straddling their toilet or in their hallway because that was the only place that didn't have words on the wall and they couldn't prove. I mean, the people that are proctoring, their job is to be suspicious of you and try to be sure that you're not going to cheat. That's their job. And I don't fault them for it. But at the same time, I have no reason to cheat. I want to do a good job on this test. I want to keep the high standards of this test. Does anyone have any questions about the application or taking the test? We're gonna go into it more in at the end of July, but I just wanted to kind of get you thinking about it now.
I
Okay.
do have one question, sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
So just for the actual test, I know you mentioned that there'll be like some calculations, like math questions. Do they come up in chapter 7 or chapter 8? Or I don't
They
know,
are
where does that
not
come up?
they are not well represented in the BABOK.
Okay.
So that's why I created that handout. I am 90% sure it's in Slack. Let me double check.
Many of them will be economics type questions like ROI that Thea wrote up for you. And one or two may be just random questions that are more testing your ability to think than anything specific in the Babok, I think.
Gotcha.
So the
Yeah.
BABOK, as I said, it doesn't do a good job of giving you the information you need for these, and they do appear on the test. That's why I created this document for you. And it goes into things that most people have seen on the test. You might not see it on the test. Some of these down here are just organizing a large amount of information. And so I give you opportunity to do it, and then I show you a way to do it that was effective for me. But things like annualized cost, return on investment, break-even analysis, weighted scoring models. In this, I literally, let me go to one. Here's break-even analysis. It explains it, it gives you an example, and then it gives you a problem. And then the next page gives you the answer and more information about it. Okay?
Payback period might be a good thing to include in that too. I know it's on the PMP.
I don't recall that being on my test, but I'll consider that.
And
But
maybe
this
with
is
one
available
of
for
our
you.
okay, and then maybe with one of our like sessions on Thursdays, maybe can we pick one where we kind of go over this together? Just because sometimes, you can study it yourself. It's still
That's
calculation,
true.
but then, I mean, you think you understand it, but maybe not really, really.
That's true. That's true. I tell you what, if one of y'all want to lead that, because math is not I don't math. I mean, I do math, but I don't math, you
Yeah.
know. Um, I can do what I gotta do. If anybody here wants to step up and say, I'll go through this and lead it, that would be cool. Otherwise, I will do my best. And we can do that a little bit later.
Perfect. Thank you.
My pleasure. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Bob. He wanted to show something about his framework, I believe. So, Bob, let me make you
Yeah,
a co-host so you can share. There you go.
can you see that?
I can now.
Yes.
All right, there we go. All right. So, what I wanted to talk about was the context of where we do all the work. So, the Babok talks about the things you do as a BA, but it never really talks about the phases of a project. They're more implicit. So, if we look at chapter 7, and remember when I took the exam, I had decades of experience, but I had never literally read the Babok. I had taken a course and I had read this little summary put together by Adaptive. Um, and it had all the flow charts and stuff. So that's how I kind of thought about it. And I thought about it in terms of the 6 major phases of the way I think about doing any project, right? And I always show you this diagram until your eyes are crossed and until everyone hates me. But I find it super useful. And I managed to pass the exam. But I finally, as I learned the Babok over 5 or 6 cycles of us doing these study sessions, it's become more clear to me. And I always thought the chapters in the Babok went more or less in order of the way you would do the work, but in reality, and they do, but mapping it to the SDLC, and this is basically 6 out of the first 8 phases of the SDLC, is all my framework is. If we map it, two things, then it makes the picture much more clear what we're doing. So, chapter 7, the first 4 tasks really have to do with the requirements, right? So it's specify, model, verify, validate, and define the architecture. And then the architecture also bleeds over into the design phase, and we define design options and figure out value and choose a solution. That's all the design phase. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
So next week, like Thea said, everything's going to be once you have a design in place, whether it's a candidate design or whether it's something you're really about to build or roll out or test or whatever. And everything is basically involved with the design phase. So in reality, and I'll go back to the beginning of the BABOK, at least back to chapter 3, all the work the BAs do, mostly they come in after the project is specified. I mean, they could be involved in defining the problem, but they really come in once a problem is identified, and then they figure out what's going on. So that's elicitation and business analysis, planning, and so on. Everything else is requirements and design. So BAs only work through 3 compressed phases, and they don't so much get involved in implementation and test. Now, you can argue that in reality, user acceptance testing is testing, building UI screens is part of implementation and so on. But mostly understanding the context makes it pretty clear. Let me go back to chapter 6. So analyze the current state, find the future state. So analyze the current state is basically what's going on now. So that's the conceptual model, right? If you're analyzing a system that already exists, so you're going to make a change. If you're building something new from scratch, there is no current state. So, define the future state. So, requirements is how you do that in an abstract way, and design is how you do that in a more specific way, right? So, the requirements are what you need, design is how you're going to do it. And then assess risk. That's actually kind of interesting. You do that across the whole scope of the project. And then define change strategy. You talk about and plan out how you're going to do design, implementation, and test. That's the way I think about it. I think that's what the BABOK says. So, then chapter 5, everything basically has to do with requirements. And 5.5 is you have to have the requirements specified and modeled. That feeds into chapter 7, right? And then at the beginning, so elicitation and collaboration, prepare for elicitation, is actually conceptual model and requirements. So what's that all about? That is, find out what's going on and find out what people need. Those are both elicitation. And same thing with conducted elicitation and confirm results. As a matter of fact, communicate business analysis information, same thing. Managing stakeholder or collaboration, that's kind of through the whole thing. If you looked at the full SDLC, there's actually a planning phase, kind of which between the intended use and the conceptual model. So you could say that maps to that. And then at the beginning, right, business analysis, planning and monitoring, almost everything you do is really upfront, either in the intended use or in the planning. In the planning, the intended use I made is brown, so they all kind of map to that. And then the last task, identify business analysis, performance improvements. You do that through all your work as you're going. So you're always looking at what you do through every phase and figuring out whether you're doing it right and how to make it better. And that's the full SDLC right there.
Bob,
So,
can I ask you a question and interrupt? Can you go to the other slide, please?
that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. Identify business analysis, the task 3.5. How come is it not part of the implementation?
It could be. BAs don't generally work in the implementation, so that's why I didn't map to that.
But it can be part of implementation.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think BA should be involved all the way through testing.
It is.
So that's
Yes.
big. And yeah, you kind of are, especially for UI stuff. When you do requirement traceability, the way I always draw it up, and I've showed you that diagram, you're involved in all the phases. But the BABOK doesn't really talk about doing implementation and test. It really only talks through design. So I'm just trying to map what the BABOK actually says as I understand it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
And then here's the whole SDLC. So how is it different than those 6 basic phases? So can you see my mouse?
Yes.
So initiation is the problem statement, and then finding out what's going on is the initial system concept development. But that's what the FTLC calls it. I say it's the conceptual model. It's basically what's going on now. And then they do planning for how you're going to do the rest of the work. That's the way it says it. You got to have these things in order when you write about them, but in reality, it's all a little jumbled. Then requirements design, and they break it up different. They do development, then they do integration and test, then they do implementation. So I kind of squeeze all these 3 things together and just call it implementation. But it's really, you kind of figure out what you're gonna do and build it. You put all the pieces together and then you deploy it. So I compress those into one page, but they break it out. Then once you've done the test and done the acceptance, then you use the system. That's operation and maintenance. And then when you're finished and you need to replace the system, retire it, and so on, then it's disposition or end of life or whatever. And we did an SDLC exercise as a chapter less full. We're getting ready to do another one. Yeah. And also, if you're doing something new, or once you're running a system that already exists, all the projects you do, whether you're a BA or whatever, it's just those 6 basic phases again. So hopefully that helps clarify where everything is and what phase all these things we do in the BABOK apply to.
Does anyone have any questions about anything? We have just a few minutes left. Okay. All right. You have a lot to think about. I did put 2 links in the chat. If you didn't see those, please do check the chat. One is for the math, things, and then the other one is, in case you didn't see it, the difference between requirements and designs. If you've been struggling with the difference between those two, that's a really good resource to kind of just put one on one side of the page and one on the other. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I will see you in a week. I'm going to stop the recording. Lakin had a comment that he wanted to talk through with me, so let's get that done.
Thank you.